Okay, so nobody's getting the truth from the mainstream media, folks. It's well past time to open your eyes, your ears, and your mind. Do your own research because something isn't right here. And if you can't see that, you are not paying attention, folks.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get this down to zero. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The important message that we need Australians to get vaccinated as quickly as possible. In line with that, I do encourage all Australians to please go and book your vaccinations as soon as you can if you haven't already done so.
Emma, get away!
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Okay, we need to stand up against this tyranny, folks. Stop giving away your freedoms and liberties, because the more you give up, the more these people will take until you have absolutely nothing left. That's their agenda. Okay, good evening, folks. Here we are again. We're here, the solid crew, just getting it done. And it's, it's been a long, long war, guys, hasn't it? So anyway, and now we've got our Prime Minister, this deal that sold our country down the tube with the help of some other people, like, so ScoMo and that didn't have their hand in it, right back to, Hawkey and the Lima Agreement, etc., etc. And that's what we need to educate people on, that sort of stuff, because that's how we lost the country. And I do believe that's how we can get it back, so. But Albo now wants a seat on the UN Advisory Board, I think it was, guys, that I heard. He's going for broke. We've had, and look, Mel, I'm qualified to talk on this, so is my wife, but she won't talk. But this lady that's gone over from Australia, Tilly's mum. Now, look, dreadful. Tilly, we've lost. We know what it's like. Okay, we know what went on with our daughter, you know what I mean? But apart from the phone maybe being a way that people could get to her, the phone was also a lifeline for her. So it's a very, very fine line. Now, they've used this poor lady, Till's mum. As I say, I'm qualified to speak on this, guys. I'm not having a dig at her. I've got a lot of compassion and heartbreak for her, okay? She's right. She'll never see her daughter have a 16th birthday. She'll never see her get a driver's license, never get engaged. Same things as what we went through. The emotions are exactly the same. All right. The difference is she's being used by a government on the world stage now to push a digital ID, and we know what it is. It's nothing about our kids' safety. So again, guys, this is how low that they'll stoop to actually trick a beautiful lady that's lost a daughter a couple of years ago. Okay, I think it was 22, Tilly. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, and she's being used by the UN to sell a story and sell a narrative. It breaks my heart, guys, because, I've been brokenhearted over exactly the same issue. All right. But this is not the way to do it. You all know it. But yeah, I do feel sorry for her. I would love to be able to educate her, but yeah, I'm afraid she'll have to wake up to that. But God bless her. She shouldn't have lost a daughter. Australians are moving to Tasmania to escape climate change. But the island state's not immune. Well, Trump's just told us and told the world, and then Albo's out there beating the climate drum, you know. Now the cameras, right? These cameras, guys, these artificial AI cameras, $137 million, all right? Aussie drivers have fined since the AI thing come in, $137 million. But Queensland Audit Office has found the Department of Transport and Main Roads hadn't properly considered the risk of using artificial intelligence or kept a close enough eye on how the systems are running. You know, it sounds a bit like Optus, doesn't it? You know, it also said the human checks meant to act as safeguard need a rethink to make sure they are fair before drivers get hit with fines. Well, that's all just bullshit, guys, right? Because that's coming from the ABC. So it's all crap. It's just all part of your narrative. And you're happy we're getting fined as long as it doesn't happen to you. I found it funny about the controversial Trump and Epstein statue. I don't know who put it up, who funded it. I can imagine who. I could probably take one good guess and be correct. It'd be Soros back. But yeah, ripped down a day or 2 days. Yeah, one day after it appeared, guys. So again, you know, couldn't get these things down before. And then this is from Routers, but this is just how they're like pushing the narrative again. Europe had over 62,700 heat-related deaths in 2024. Well, if that numbers are correct, is that because you gave them all the juice and you heated up their bodies to, you know, and then hit them with 5G and, oh, we got some heat-related deaths? I don't know, but anything you guys are telling us, we probably wouldn't believe too much of. But we have a superbug crisis to cost the global economy $2 trillion, guys. So they've already worked out the price is going to cost you $2 trillion a year by the year 2050. Mate, I tell you, these guys have got their little pandemics well sorted. So we're in a bit of strife over here, guys. And what I've been noticing is that England has gone under like full-blown tyranny from what I'm seeing. So the question is, you know, what does Australia want to do about it, and what do we do about it? And you know, I'm in for all these, you know, protests and getting together. Why? Because I think it's a great social day. I think it really builds everyone's, you know, drive and ego to keep moving. You know what I mean? But I think, you know, also, what are we doing? You know what I mean? We've got to be doing something. So I've got Frank in again tonight because he's been at the governor's for over a year now, guys. And I know these people. And when you hit the year mark, you know, I've had a couple of conversations in the background with you, Frank, hey, Cazza, and welcome, Frank. But yeah, I want to get Frank, because after a year, you guys must be now going, okay, what's the next step? What do we do here? You know what I mean? We've been here for a year. We're not giving up, but we need to somehow build some momentum. At the moment, we're on a weekday, which is a Monday, which only suits on a long weekend. And then us Aussies on long weekends, well, we got a little bit better things to do than head down to the governor's and voice our opinion. So what do you guys, you know, and I'm not putting this on the spot here, Frank, I'm just asking, I would imagine you guys would have something in the midst of thinking anyway.
Yeah, mate. Look, I'll tell you why I took Mondays. Obviously, it was a work thing, right? But the whole idea with Monday is, in order to get our country back, Dave, we need to put our tools down, right? Now, most people usually have what we call Monday-itis. Well, you know what? You had enough. And we've just, you know, you've just mentioned, you know, what kind of tyrannical governance we have in this country. They're not listening to the people. They're not doing anything whatsoever. So by going to the governors on a Monday, I'm taking a stance. Now, the thing is, I have been there for 66 weeks, and I've seen a lot happen. I've seen a lot on the lawns, and I've seen a lot of missed opportunities as well. You know, like she had about a fortnight, 3 weeks ago, she had a big gala event down at Mondays at Maggie's, right? And she made sure that it was going to be a lunchtime affair once we left. Now, could you imagine if we had thousands upon thousands on that lawn? Those guests would have been so embarrassed to even enter that premises, right? So they can have a spruced up lunch and whatever it was. Right, so there's so much missed opportunity that's actually occurring now, and I've seen so much happen over the course of the 66 weeks, because that's how long it's
Is
been.
her schedule, is her itinerary public knowledge, Frank? Can we, can you guys find out a public itinerary? So, when you're going down there, to do anything that you might know she's there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time she usually is. I mean, unless she's got some sort of event to attend. Right now, I think she's kind of gone under the radar a little bit in terms of those events, right? Because of the amount of pressure that we've actually put on her. And that's the thing. The stage is already set. I mean, so much has already come out as the great reveal, right? We've put so much pressure on this individual, this woman, Margaret Beasley, right? That at the end of the day now, all we're really waiting is for that big crowd to arrive. Right? That's it. Now, I'm happy to even go as far as doing it on a Sunday. Because I've always said that the day we get thousands over there, Dave, I'm locking my horns in, mate, and I'm not going until she's gone. Right? It comes down to this at the end of the day. It's us, the people. That's it. It's us. Every single one of us is in all our viewerships and the people that are listening to the show tonight. It is up to us. We can't just sit and wait for someone else to do it. Now, as far as rallies go, as you said, Dave, it is great. I love rubbing shoulders with the family. I love rubbing shoulders with, all the people that have gone through what we've come through in the last, 5 and 6 years, right? But right now, we're at the tipping point. This is the tipping point. The scale, like I said, the stage has already been set. Trump's already given the UN an absolute bashing just recently, you know what I mean? So there's so much that's already coming out. Now, the general consensus is the public, even the normies, right, are starting to realise that something ain't right. They just don't know what to do. They don't know how to galvanise, right, because, they sense it, but they just don't know. Now, Mondays at Maggie's is imperative right now because under the letters patent, Section 4 of the Constitution, right, you must appear. That the only reason why I'm there is I must appear. I can send this woman an email or whatever it is, and she can just put it in the bin and don't even address it. But I'll tell you now, when we're all standing there, eyeballing this building, I have no doubt that it'll crack. Now, the beauty of that is there's two things. We're demanding that she brings down local government, everything in New South Wales, and we want the writs, right, for a fresh election. And more importantly, we want the Senator Heffernan files as well, unredacted. That's pretty much the instructions. Now, we've gone and addressed a lot of other instructions to her. Now, the 28 is imperative, and I'll tell you why. The day that Belinda and I and Phil decided to go down the very first time, the very first week, our whole plight, our whole fight has always been about the kids and the kids only. We've gone down so many rabbit holes, but I'll tell you now, this country is full of filth, right, in terms of the amount of harm they've done to kids, right, through the 28 and even beyond, right? So, that's always been my driving force, right, because someone's got to be their voice. Now, as we've gone along, we realise it's a little bit more than that. Well, there's a lot more than that, right? But at the end of the day, she holds that key, but she hasn't been pressurised enough. And look, 20 people, 30 people each week, Dave, ain't going to cut the mustard, mate. I need thousands down.
So you need a protest with some purpose, Frank, is what you need, and the purpose would be to put the governor on notice. You know what I mean, with thousands of people. Yep,
that's right. And we bunker down until she makes action or takes some sort of formal action. Now, I can tell you now, Dave, it's like the domino effect. If Margaret rolls, it'll happen in each state because you know what? If people will realise how easy it was to do.
It was.
And I guarantee, I still believe in my heart of hearts that she's the key, no doubt. And I'll tell you now, Samantha Mostyn, if she sees the state governors collapse, she'll collapse with them, right? It'll be, like I said, it will be, mate, like I said, and I how I say we'll bunker down for 24 hours and whatever it takes. I know if we got big numbers there, Dave, it wouldn't take 3, 4, 5 hours. I can tell you now, we'd have action because the pressure would be immense for her not to do anything at all. Right? In other words, what we're doing now And you saw Sophie Scamps, right? Now you see all our pollies are backtracking now, right? You know, they're all
except
come out.
Albo, except the ones on the big stage over there. They're going
Exactly.
for it, mate. They're dived in.
They're all backtracking now, Dave, right? So, you know, they know that the shit is about to happen. Now, what we're doing at Mondays at Maggie's is we're now turning the mirror back on them. That's what we're doing. So the reflection is now back on them. And quite frankly, it can be done. I genuinely believe it can be done. And she can take the type of action that she requires. Now, all she has to do is come to the gate. We give her the hand of instructions on what we want. She gets on the telly, you know, com and whatever, rings up Mins and mate, Mins, you're fucked, you're gone, you're finished, mate. Out the door, right? All of you gone. Right? And then we get the auditors in and we sorted it all out and whatever. At the moment, if we don't do anything right now, we're literally just sitting on our feet. You know, we're sitting on our hands.
We're sliding down the funnel. Yeah, we're on our ass, mate, sliding down the funnel. We've lost our footing. The digital ID, that lady, as I spoke about in front of the, and I have the right to speak on it, in front of the UN today, you know what I mean? That is going to, like so many normal people out there, let's call them the general public, okay, whatever I should target them as, right, are going to look at that and break their heart for that lady and agree to what's going on. And this is how despicable these guys are, you know, and this is why, I agree with you, Frank. Something's got to be done and it needs to be done. So if we can help you promote, you know, and I think you need to go back to your team. And I don't know, Caz, you got any thoughts on this? But go back to your team and see what you can do. And we'll promote as much as we can, Frank, because, look, as you say, getting together and having protests, I love, man. You know me. I just love it. I love being in with the people. But maybe a protest with some purpose to do something and stand some ground, you know what I mean, is a different way to go whilst we're in, because we're back in the sort of protest season again, aren't we? You could call it that, you know? Everyone's sort of like going for it. So, yeah.
Well, the thing is, Dave, let's go back just only a fortnight ago when we saw the last protest in Sydney, right? We're all standing there and we've got a bunch of galahs just telling a whole lot of regurgitated nonsense that we already fucking know anyway in the first place, right? And there's no immediate action. And I'll tell you now, there's a lot of subject matter they never, ever talk about, ever, right? You know, and we can't keep sweeping it under the carpet because I'll tell you now, folks, the rug is so full. It really is. There is no more room. It's done.
It's bulging it, mate. You can't hide it anymore.
Absolutely. Now, the thing is, going to the governors means that we're standing with a purpose. It means that Australia's absolutely had a gutful, right? She's the monarch of New South Wales, right? She's put her hand up to represent the people, right, under her fiduciary obligation. Right, her fiducial obligation is to represent the people of New South Wales. And Guy, I can tell you now, and I don't care where you are, those ambulances are running hot day and night. I sat here one day and there was about 14 in the course of a day. Now, I don't know what it takes, but you know what? It's time, Australia. It's time. And I'll tell you now, Margaret needs to feel the wrath, Dave. She really does.
Well, what's interesting about
that point,
we've actually heard that this from somebody in Victoria as well, like the hospitals are just a crisis place, but this is New Zealand. Beds are so scarce that patients are now being treated in hospital corridors. That's happening in Australia.
Yep.
Well, you need to go home to your Love Wins is asking to set a date, Frank, so you need to go back to your team, mate, and see what you guys can rustle up. And as I said, we'll promote you, and like we do with anybody else, mate, that we're aligned with, you know what I mean, we'll promote you. And that's state by state, guys. That's not a national organisation way. You know, the states that we believe in are the states that we will actually push and promote.
I'll tell you something, Dave. If I get the following to do this, the goal is we go on a Sunday and and we roll into Mondays at Maggie's. Right? So in other words, okay, guys, the whole idea is to have tools down. But we're standing there with an absolute purpose that we've actually had a gutful. I'll turn the Monday into a Sunday. That there is no excuse and everybody can rock up. We'll get, people can bring their personal barbecues. We'll sit down. We'll have snags, whatever. We'll get on the megaphone and we'll do exactly what we've got to do. So I'll talk to the team, but 4 to 5 weeks, I reckon we could do this, Dave. I really do.
All right. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. The people are looking for, like a cure to this bullshit.
Well, the
And
thing
she
is
is a
too.
killer if you can make her react. Come on, Caz, get in there. You've been so quiet, mate. I thought you were asleep there for a minute.
I just about am actually. Well, look, this is what they want us to forget.
Yeah. I feel for the people they hit, man. I'm getting back on top of it and getting fit again. But I tell you what, at our age or any midlife, man, even young, you don't want to be taking them bullets like that. Them rubber bullets, man. They done some damage to the boys, like they really did. But that's not even the point of it. Wade will tell you that they asked for live ammo, some of them, that's, like that's out there apparently in text messages and that. But just to actually turn a weapon on the Australian people, whether they had rubber bullets, blanks, or whatever, the actual psychological trauma of actually rounding people up and corralling them, you know what I mean, with semi-automatic and automatic weapons and full riot gear over your head, you know what I mean? And it's just like incredible. I never thought I'd see our country like this.
I mean, I don't know how they sleep at night. The people that were, involved in all that, I'll tell you what, I have no idea how you guys sleep at night.
I don't know. Look, Joanne, how she's doing an excellent job of trying to save the babies. She's put this together with regards to, they always use the handmaiden's tale.
That has not been done anywhere in the world. Ever since Roe v. Wade was overturned, we've been seeing these tired Handmaid's Tales photos by pro-abortion activists. Like every time they want to bitch about Trump or there's a pro-life law that's been passed, they just get dressed in their Handmaid's Tale garb and they stand there with their signs saying abortion is healthcare and abortion is pro-women. And what they're essentially referring to is Margaret Atwood's book, which is about a dystopia. And every time I see one of those photos, it makes me so angry because I think, is there anything that could be more dystopian than injecting a baby with poison and then delivering them dead or in pieces? Today we're going to flip the script on this. We are heading to South Australian Parliament. I've asked some girls to join us. I think we've got about 10 young women who are going to be our Handmaid's Tale women. And we're going to have a big sign to expose what the true dystopia is. So I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know whether we'll be, kicked out of the steps, whether the police will march us on, because this is like a message that you're not allowed to apparently say. Who knows, But we're going to go. Do you want to come and see what's going to happen next?
Good on her.
Good on her. She's doing such good work. Yeah.
She's doing great work, actually.
She is. Look, we have to have a recap on the ostrich story, okay? This is the whole story. It's really good.
It is. I spoke on it this morning on a space.
2025, and I'm going to cover the ostriches from beginning to end so everyone can understand what government overreach looks like. So Universal Ostrich, a farm in Edgewood, BC, was ordered to kill all of its ostriches because the authorities received an anonymous tip in December of 2024 that some of these ostriches were dying or had the avian flu. Now, they collected samples and they tested positive for it. Now, fast forward to January, they decided to fight this order and take them to court. And they said to the government, hey, yes, we did lose 69 ostriches, but the rest have no symptoms. They're still alive. Not a single one has died since. And so RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., offered to move these ostriches to the U.S. And you guys know Dr. Oz? Both he and RFK wanted these birds moved to the U.S. because it says we're sticking our necks out because it doesn't help anyone to kill the birds. The idea is they've developed antibodies and they could be useful. No symptoms, no flu. What's the point of killing 400 of them? That was the reasoning behind this. The government disagreed and they said, no, we are going to get rid of all of them. Apparently, a union rep was saying that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency was facing a lot of intimidation and threats over the planned culling of these ostriches. The farm did everything they could to fight this, but they lost the court battle. I believe it was less than 2 days ago, RCMP showed up. And I don't think this picture does it justice. There was a lot of them. And they arrested the ostrich farmers. Simultaneously, they created this massive wall of hay bales around the ostriches, presumably to gather them all, put them in there, and basically exterminate them. As you can see, these are at least 3 meters high. Now, fast forward to just a few hours ago, the farmers succeeded and they got an interim stay to halt the culling of the herd. And when that happened, they started burning the hay bale wall. But to me, here's the most fascinating part of this whole thing and how they were able to put this to a pause, at least temporarily. First Nations stepped up. They said, we're contesting this ground. We think this is ours. And because it's ours, you have to hear us in court. You can't touch the birds. This is our property. That's how they did it. Incredibly creative. And now this has to go through the court process. Shout out to the First Nations.
Yeah. And the problem with our Indigenous people to step up to the mark like that, and I'm not being disrespectful to any of them, is that what did Bose tell us? Something $33 billion a year or something to Aboriginal affairs out there on the corporate sector.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, we can't get any help out of the good ones. Why? Because the bad ones outflank them to the shithouse guys getting paid by the government.
Yeah.
But that's a great step up from the Indigenous over there to actually step in and do it. And that's, again, this is a worldwide story. These stories are now becoming worldwide news. They are getting millions of hits around the world. It's unreal. It is as horrible as it is. It's an awakening.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Look, there's actually a bit of mRNA news. It's pretty important. The first one is this. So this is basically a disruption of the vascular in the brain. So it's a study and it's linked to 63 serious central nervous system issues. And one of the things that the people have been pointing out is the eyes. This explains what's going on with the eyes.
mRNA injections actually destroy 8.4% of non-renewable eye cells in just 75 days. This was of 64 healthy young adults who did receive Pfizer's mRNA injection, and they did find irreversible structural damage to the eye's corneal endothelium. This is the base layer of cells on the cornea, on the bottom of the cornea. Corneal endothelium does not regenerate, right? So this damage is indeed permanent. The study found that endothelial cell density decreased by 8.4%. Cell size variation increased by 7.7%, which does indicate cell stress. Hexagonality, which means normal shaped cells, actually decreased by about 2%, indicating structural distortions. And central corneal thickness increased by 2.8%, indicating swelling and fluid imbalance. We have to remember that injury to this base layer of non-renewable cells can lead to blurred vision, chronic swelling, and even blindness in severe cases. The harms of these shots just keep piling up.
But we've got another problem.
The world is watching.
Yeah, we've got another problem. We played last night about all of those pregnant women that were basically taking the Tylenol.
Yeah.
Well, look at this.
Yeah. I know.
It's going to be 6 a.m.
I think I know what you're going to do.
And for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter, I recommend that you do. I got a call, a very frantic call at 4 o'clock in the morning from a husband whose wife is now dying of liver failure on a ventilator in an ICU because she was trying to prove that Tylenol doesn't cause autism because of what Trump said on the news. Mind you, that's a Harvard study. Now, whether or not you believe the Harvard study or not is not the issue here. The issue is that she's somewhere between 23 to 25 weeks and she overdosed on Tylenol. And she's going to die. She's not going to come off that ventilator. And the guy got my phone number from somebody. Somebody gave it to him. I mean, guys, it's early in the morning. I'm still in Hello Kitty sweatpants in my gym trying to work out. And she's gonna die. It's gonna be. Let me tell you something about Tylenol overdosing and death. Is that if you aren't administered the antidote, it is a very slow and painful death, okay? Because Tylenol, as well as Benadryl and aspirin, are the 3 most common OTCs that people will typically try to unalive themselves with, so I don't get censored. But now people are just taking massive amounts of Tylenol to prove Trump wrong. I mean, weren't these the same people who put Harvard and Fauci and the pillars of science on a pedestal? And now they refuse to believe it. Like, I don't believe it either. But I'm also not going to go overdose on Tylenol either.
And then you have this, somebody dug this up. So this is Tylenol. And we actually don't recommend using any of the products while pregnant. Thank you for taking the time to voice your concerns today. That was in March 2017.
That was from the opinionated black woman, Caz, your mate.
Yeah.
That was from her place. I got that. Yeah, off Twitter. But guys, you know what would go down here? If Trump cured cancer tomorrow, right, and that was it. We got the cure, guys. Everyone's saved. I reckon the left would be out on the street screaming, reinstate cancer.
Yeah.
This is how, fanatical they are. Anything it's just insanity.
Mate, they'd stand in the sun all day naked, mate, so they can get skin cancer.
You're not getting rid of a Trump. No way.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. And, the butchery that's going on, these are these transitioners. Listen to these testimonies.
Transitioner. I'm 23 years old, and I'm about 3 months off of estrogen, which I took for 4 years. I was what you would have called true trans. I presented with dysphoria for most of my childhood. Into early adulthood, I had this very sudden, very strong realization that I was just denying my reality, and it quickly became untenable for me to continue taking hormones.
I'm on the stage right now, singing your favorite song. Look in the crowd, you know where to be found as they sing along. I say, you look good.
3 things I wish I knew before I transitioned to male. 1. That injecting myself with cross-sex hormones actually was harming and damaging my perfectly healthy body. 2. That changing my identity and changing my body wasn't actually going to heal the pain I had within myself. It was just an escape that created actually more trauma for me. 3. That it was okay to be a tomboy and not fit into society's beauty standards of what a woman was supposed to be like. That I was perfect the way I was and I didn't need to change myself.
I started living as a female when I was 19 years old, had a sex change when I was 30 years old. I've now been living as a woman for 28 years, and I fully regret this. First off, my name is Renee Jacks, and I'm an author. I've written 8 books so far, 3 of them to do with transsexuality. I never had the full ability to have intercourse because the vagina that they make is so small. So these surgeries are nothing more than plastic surgery. The sex change didn't solve my discomfort. The doctors who are honest will say that the gender dysphoria is always there. It starts out being about your anatomy, but really what you don't like yourself.
I wanted to give myself time to really explore my feelings and detransition before I shared them with you. This is what I look like. This is what I sound like as an almost 30-year-old man. This is what happens when you let people transition in adolescence before they've had a chance to grow up. Not just but pressure. The active pressuring of people to transition so they can preserve their femininity, which is what happened with me. I was told that if I allowed myself to age, that I would become masculine and that it would never be possible and that I would do it anyway. And that I would be a more masculine transgender person like them. And so I made the choices that I thought were right for me at the time. I did it in secret from my parents. I take accountability for all my choices. But when is the trans community going to take accountability for theirs? For leading me down this path?
Yeah, another corporation. The LGBT is another corporation.
Well, the LGBT is now going away from the rest of the alphabet. So I've heard they're starting to distance themselves from it now. So that's a good thing. But guys, I'd just like to say that The devil wears Prada. And if you're awake, you'll know exactly what I mean. The devil wears Prada.
Look, we've got this is in Ireland, and this is basically gangs going from door to door, breaking into houses. You know, we have a machete attack also in Melbourne.
Yeah, it's happening in Melbourne. They can't sleep down there.
We've got fathers.
Unbelievable. There's actually vigilantes now. I'll call them vigilantes, but there's actually a movement. Have you seen that yet, Caz? There's a movement this guy's putting together with men to actually look after the neighbourhoods down there. You know, what's the world? What's our country come to when men have got to go out? But hey, you know, the good thing, we've been asking for the masculinity in the men to come through for a long time, and maybe now we're starting to see that the boys have got a little bit of balls, you know? So
finally.
Because we need it, guys. Yeah, we need it. Peacefully, lovingly stand up to these fuckers. Yeah.
That's it. But the good thing is that at the moment that revival is just happening everywhere. This is Christians doing a flash mob in a Denver mall.
No chains! Jesus set me free! No bondage! No chains! Jesus set me free! No bondage! No chains!
And then apparently the rapture was yesterday, and this was a video, and we've all missed out. We're still here, but I have to play it because it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. And the other thing that's really interesting at the moment too is Trump trolled the auto pen for Biden. Have a look at
When the truth comes out, when the truth comes out, you can run, but you know it's ending. At the bottom of the grave, you're digging out. When the truth comes out, yeah, you know this is just the beginning. Lights crumble down when the truth.
And then you've got Elbow taking a selfie. Like, check this out.
Hey, but hang on. That day Trump was wearing a red tie as we see it, and he's got a blue tie on with Elbow's photo. There's a few little crafties about whether Elbow actually got this shot or whether this shot's a little bit of a phony, Elbow, a bit like yourself, son.
Well, it does look odd because Trump's got his head pressed forward like that, and that's not usually how he carries himself.
How high is Trump? How big's Trump?
He's taller than that.
Either Elbow's on a fucking bench, you know, which he'd have to be. He'd grab a step ladder to give him a little spooning, I suppose. You'd like that, Elbow, a bit of a spoon with the
it's bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on that one.
Well, he's put it out there. He put it out there on his friggin'
He did. This is really cool. So basically what's happening is there have been homeschooling is up 160%. So, and that's pretty awesome. So, because we actually, I think it's pretty important at the moment.
There are some good teachers in the world. I happen to know a couple of them, and they are absolutely brilliant. But unfortunately, most of the system is indoctrinated leftist, whatever. Anyway, I'll leave it there because I hated school. I really did.
Yeah, same.
All right,
that's why we're on the show. You know that.
Oh man, I tell you, I can tell you some stories about reunions when teachers turned up there, Frank, and I went up to see them, mate. Like, I tell you what, you know, it's not, you know, they all said I'd absolutely be a no oper, you know what I mean? But I actually, you know, people wouldn't know I had a go-kart belt drive system, and you know what I mean, had that around the world in Europe and that, you know what I mean? And then Tumbletown and had that around the world. And all these teachers told me I was the biggest no-oper that they'd ever met, you know, and was a funny conversation at one school reunion, mate. I can assure you, it was a crack up. I was just playing them up like it's unreal.
Absolutely, brother.
Don't judge people. Don't judge people. You know, that's the lesson in that. You know what I mean? And especially your school teachers, they were like that, guys. You know, they could ruin your career just with their opinions of you in the classroom, because that was moral and psychological torment. And that's what they get away with doing. You know what I mean? It was like, you know, maybe I asked for it a little bit. But anyway, I wasn't there long enough to cop their torment. I was surfing or something. Anyway, righto. Enough of me.
All right, so we've been taken out by this testimony of the music that happened, Holy Spirit inspired at Charlie Kirk's wake. Guys, also, by the way, I've been looking into the allegations with regards to the wife. Now, you won't find it on any search engine, but for those of you that want to do a deep dive and go into it, it's if you use Yandex, that's the Russian search engine, you'll find articles, but I haven't found anything nefarious. In fact, I've actually found really good reports on it. So if anybody else has got more time and they want to actually do a deep dive on that down that rabbit hole, then use Yandex, because you'll be able to pull the Russian. That's a Russian site, and you'll be able to pull up the information a lot better. Franco, if you'd like to final words, and Dave, if you'd like to wrap up, that'd be great.
Yeah, look, it was interesting how you just mentioned C. Kirk with the, the big gala event. You know, there was a big poster that was there, and basically he had his fist up like the fight, fight, fight. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we've got to do, folks. We're in for a fight, and we've got to stand. And I just want to encourage everybody. Let's hold tight. We'll come up with a really, really good plan to create this thing at Mondays at Maggie's. Give me a week or two to get myself organised. And I just want to encourage everybody. And by all means, reach out if you've got any feedback or whatever. If you've got any ideas, we're happy to sort of take anything on board. And more importantly, come and join us, as we endeavour to bring down the Governor of New South Wales and make history. Well, that'll be history in the first one, because no state governors are being brought down. But, nationally it's happened twice. 73 and 74 with Gough. And I think that prior to that was 1937. So we can make history, but we've got to want it bad enough. I think we've...
Sorry, Franco, you asked me to play this one too.
William Wallace? Can't be. Not tall enough.
The Almighty says this must be a fashionable fight. It's drawn the finest people. Where is thy salute?
For presenting yourselves on this battlefield. I give you thanks.
This is our army. To join it, you give homage.
I give homage to Scotland. And if this is your army, why does it go?
We didn't come here to fight for them.
Oh, the English are too many.
Sons of Scotland, I am William Wallace.
William Wallace is 7 feet tall.
Yes, I've heard. He kills men by the hundred. And if he were here, he'd consume the English with fireballs from his eyes and bolts of lightning from his arse. I am William Wallace. And I see a whole army of my countrymen here in defiance of tyranny. You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are. What will you do without freedom? Will you fight?
Fight against that? No! We will run!
And we will live. Aye. Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live. At least a while. And dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Get back and fight for Australia like that, Mel. We need you on horseback, son, leading the parade. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do this. We can do it.
Yep. All right. Well, that was my wrap up. That was easy. Braveheart, guys. If you haven't watched it, go and get psyched up. Watch it again because, yeah, we need to pull the troops together and we need to hit a strategic place where we can actually get, you know, a bit of a protest with some purpose, guys. That's what I think. And as I said, we'll promote it and advertise it and help you all we can, Frank, from here, mate, in the studio. So we just want our country back like everybody else, mate.
100%.
Okay.
Cheers,
Good
bro.
night, folks.
Bye.
My husband and I went to the Charlie Kirk Memorial in Glendale, Arizona. And one of my favorite moments was when they were playing music. There was no words. It was just music. And everybody spontaneously, unplanned, nobody told us to do this, lifted up their signs. And then I saw this.
I had the opportunity to play for Charlie Kirk's memorial service. There was a beautiful moment that took place for those of you guys who watched. Brandon Lake just gets finished leading Gratitude after Brandon Lake sings, where it's just quiet. Like there's nothing happening. Still about a good 7 to 8, maybe even 10 minutes. I could be wrong on that. But there's a good amount of time left. Kind of stressing out a little bit. Even the production team is in my ears asking, Donnie, what are we doing? Are we doing another song? What's going on? Sitting there and no joke. You know me, I don't like to over spiritualize things, but I felt very strongly the Lord said to me, I want you to play like you used to when you were 11 years old, in your room by yourself, no audience, no crowd, no nothing, just you. I'm not getting emotional thinking about it. And I just began to play. None of that ending moment of that worship set was a part of a script or anything. Like that was purely 100% spontaneous.
Learning that music was also spontaneous, unplanned. Nobody told them to do it. Makes that moment a million times more special than it already was.